Hi, this is Catherine. This is Taking Tea with Catherine. This is the wonderful Victorian London Fog tea by Harney and Sons, which I've had on this channel many times just because I really love it. It is good with or without milk, and it's almost like Earl Grey, but slightly different, slightly sweeter. It's a good drink for any time of year, honestly, but just a great winter drink. Now, I'm expecting snow in New York and thereabouts, and they say it's going to be pretty heavy. I don't know. Last year I remember whining about the fact that we didn't have snow days because I wanted more time to be home and read. Now I'm kind of grateful that we had a slightly mild winter last year because I could be out and about with people more. And obviously this year is slightly different. Who knows as the months go by, but for now, it looks like we're going to be going into February with lots of snow, and I'm fine with that. Except for the fact that I'm probably not going to get a snow day, but that's okay because, I'm happy with what I have. But today is the February TBR, which, as you know, a TBR for me and for most people is the hopefuls, the possibilities, I would really like to read a lot of these books in the month of February. For me, I have a lot of books that I am in the middle of that I'm not even going to show you, except for one. Only one that I've actually really made progress in. Some progress anyway. Not the middle yet, but otherwise, most of these books I haven't really started yet. And beyond maybe a chapter, which I don't count as started. So I'll show you those, and there are a number of books out of the library that I'm not going to show you. Maybe when we're doing a Friday Reads or something. But I kind of just thought there's a lot of, reading challenges, reading all kinds of activities on BookTube for February that I decided just not to get involved in. I will show you a couple of things that are kind of group reads for me this month, but otherwise I am keeping it, well, maybe not simple, but I'm slightly tidying things up while adding more because I can't help myself. But I'm doing what I think I'm going to do every few months, which in this case is just every other month, but usually every few months, in which I will just pick a month that I won't commit to too many activities and not have the most hard and fast TBR, so that, well, I can also mood read whenever I want, because I always have to leave some room for mood reading, but also that I can finish a lot of books that I started or continue books that I didn't get to in January. So first I'm just going to show you really quick, I hope, because I can really ramble. I'm just going to show you the 5 books that I did not get to begin. Well, one of them I read like a prologue, but that doesn't really count. In January. So I talked about it a lot in January. If you want further details about them, you can watch my January TBR if you have the time. But I'm just going to show you the titles right now, and mostly. So. And if I haven't shown you the other titles, that means I might have read them in January. So a little preview of my wrap up of January, which I bet y'all can't wait for. So the first, I'm kind of doing it in size order ish. This is A Cat, a Man, and Two Women by Junichiro Tanizaki, continuing some translated books. A little bit of a goal there. Let's see, Passing by Nella Larson. I read Quicksand, liked it very much. There's other stories in here, but focusing on Passing. And my Tea and Mystery. I have plenty of books to read for Tea and Mystery because I have library books out, but I also have this book, Small Bone Deceased, a London Mystery by Michael Gilbert, a British library crime classic. Am looking forward to this. Also, the book that will probably be most intense, I'll either really like it or really not like it. We'll see. I did read a prologue, and I could tell it's going to be kind of dramatic. If I have to be in the mood for that. Donna Tartt's Secret History. We'll see. And then this book that just looks so wintry, so I really want to read it before it gets warm out. The Seabirds Cry, The Lives and Loves of Puffins, Gannets, and Other Ocean Voyagers. I know it focuses on water birds, so it's not necessarily cold weather, but when I see a puffin, I think of chilliness, kind of like penguin, I just kind of think of that. Anyway, so those are the, possibly familiar to you. What might also be familiar is a book that I've shown a number of times. I really want to continue this because I know it's good, and my sister, who I was semi-buddy reading it with, went ahead and finished it, which, that makes sense. But I had left off in the end of September and then just haven't picked it up yet. And I know I'm going to really enjoy it because I was enjoying it. But it's a massive tome, and I think I'm ready for it now because I am not going to be reading a Russian classic this month because I read Crime and Punishment last month. So I think I have room for a slightly intense French novel and a big one. So that's The Count of Monte Cristo by Dumas. So yeah, let's see if I can actually do something with it. And if I can't, then March also, I think there are some focuses on reading massive books in March, so I could read right into there. No problemo. I don't know how to say no problem in French. And I don't have to know, but oh well. If you guys know how to say that, please put that in the comments below. Okay, so, and I'm going to show you 3 books that are just possibilities, also all books that are things that I would just like to start, and for no reason other than that I want to read them. And, well, this one is, I think it's Jean Rhys, but I could be wrong about that. Why Sargasso Sea. This is a prequel, sort of Jane Eyre, telling the story of someone, in case you haven't read Jane Eyre, someone who is a character in there but does not really get to tell her own story. So that is this. There is a lady lying down in pretty flowers, kind of looking slightly Ophelia-ish, but not quite, while something blazes in the background. It's a pretty short book. I could probably read it pretty quickly, but that doesn't mean I'm going to pick it up, but we'll see. I would like to read it. I had to wait until I finished Jane Eyre, which I did in October. So we'll see. Did I mention? We'll see. So, another spoiler for the wrap-up of January, I don't know what month I'm in anymore, is that I finished another book by Anthony Trollope, and I really am gearing up to finish the Barsetshire series by, well, I said the end of the year, but I would love to finish it before that, so I could get started either with the Palliser series or do some standalones. I just really want to be trolloping all over 2021. So, the last book was really good, but probably not my favorite, but still good, and made me want to continue into this one, which I've heard nothing but good about, which is The Small House at Allington. This is I think the 5th book. Yeah, the 5th book in the series of 6, and so I'm getting there. It has, this version has, okay, there's a lot of notes in the back, so over 600 pages. I could probably do it, and it's an Oxford book, Oxford University, I think. Has a bunch of blurbs. Oxford University Press. I passed by the Oxford University Press in New York recently, I think. Yeah, anyway, a couple months ago. Everything seems so recent, but then I find out it's like a few months ago. This has blurbs, or I should say a claim, because this wasn't written specifically for this book, by Nathaniel Hawthorne, Lord David Cecil, I don't know, Henry James, and Sir Arthur Quiller Couch. I read so much of Helen Hanff, who was very influenced by Arthur Quiller Couch, that I thought, I'll mention that. And I don't know, I kind of like the size of this book. I will probably have to take the dust jacket off because it irritates me when I read with it flopping. They really should do something about that. They should either just, I don't know, they should do something about that. I would be happy with naked hardbacks, or I guess it's paperbacks that do French flaps, right? I don't think you could do a French flap with a hardcover. I don't know, but it's kind of annoying. I know people sometimes put wrapping on it and they stick it, whatever, but I just don't think I trust myself to do that on a book like this. Anyway, I got this for $1 in Book Off. So I got that also. So I am reading my Book Off hauls. I am. Or I intend to anyway. And then this is a book that I heard it mentioned on another channel as a good biography of this particular person. And I already read one by Alison Weir. I have another one that I haven't read yet in my possession. Maybe I'll get to that this year. We'll see. But it would be just over 20 years ago that I got back into serious reading. Like I was always reading, but back into serious reading. And then I got more into historical fiction, and then I got really into just wanting to read history and biographies about certain characters. And one of the main subjects I got into was British history, especially like the monarchy, and mostly from the Norman invasion in 1066 to, or the conquest, whatever you want to call it, to now, or although back then probably up until like Victorian times. And one of the early people that I became really interested in was Eleanor of Aquitaine, who was not just the wife of Henry II, but previous to that, she was the wife of one of the King Louis of France. She went to the Crusades. She had a bunch of kids, and she outlived almost everybody. And she was just such a fascinating woman. And I read her biography probably a little later in 2001, but I read a lot of historical fiction about her, etc., and just was fascinated, and I have never stopped being fascinated by her. And so I think it's time to read another biography of her. I think 20 years is a good amount of a gap, right? And so Marion Mead's Eleanor of Aquitaine, a biography. I kind of like the way this looks. It is a nice floppy, right? Penguin. And she also wrote Dorothy Parker, What Fresh Hell Is This? Which I don't think you can see it in back of me. Turn my back. Oh, wow. No. I'm going to give myself a, woo, dizzy. I tried. It's in back of me. If you can look in back, you could probably see it. Maybe not. Anyway, that is a book about Dorothy Parker. But I haven't finished my Dorothy Parker reader, which I probably won't, collection that I have. You can actually, okay, see where my hand is? Right above my hand is the Dorothy Parker. It is so hard to do that without getting dizzy. Okay, and I like that too. Maybe I should continue reading Dorothy Parker a little bit too. But that's another story for another time. So I have that biography. I think I got that at Book Off as well. So those are two books I have by Marion Mead. But anyway, getting back to Eleanor of Aquitaine. This book was written in, let's see. Oh, look at all these addresses. 1977. So, in my lifetime. But quite a while ago. So that would be nice. It has one of these wonderful family trees. I love a good family tree. Some of them in with these monarchs. Oh my goodness, because people marry their cousins, so it gets a little. But I really admire people who compile family trees. I've probably done a little bit of that for school, but nothing more than great grandparents tops. But anyway, yeah. So I really hope to at least start this in February. Just. That kind of book is a labor of love. Look at these pictures. Should I show you any pictures? Oh, this is, I guess Henry II supposed to be. Back then they weren't that interested in making likenesses, but I think they, so no one really knows exactly how Eleanor of Aquitaine looked. Everybody talks about how beautiful she was, but was that like propaganda or was that true? I'm assuming she was kind of attractive, but she had a whole duchy. She was a Duchess of Aquitaine, which is a big area. So she was also, land and, rich. So that might have made her more attractive. Who knows? But pretty well educated for that time, that sort of thing. All right. So I have two books here that are books I will be reading with other people. And one of them is a novel and one of them is a biography, which for me is a perfect balance. So I'll start off by saying, back in May, I think it was, I discovered the Sunnyside Book Exchange. I think that's what it's called. We'll call it that for now. I think that's what it's called. Which is an area, which is a town over from where I live. It's a bit of a walk, but not a bad walk. I just don't do it all the time because you have to cross like these railroad tracks, and then there's like this 1 or 2 blocks that's a little lonely. So I only go when I know it's really kind of a peopled walk. I could take a bus, but why? Why would I take a bus? Anyway, and then you have to go all the way another. It's really hard to explain being a pedestrian in my part of Queens. But anyway, it is a little complicated. Uh, but anyway, in one of my walks, because there is a grocery store in that area that is specializes in like Irish products, which is as close as I can get to like the British stuff that I want to get, and I like the Irish stuff too. And they have things like that that I really enjoy sometimes picking up, and of course some teas never hurts. And so on the way there or on the way back, I passed by this book exchange, and basically it is like a massive little free library, which means that you could donate books. You could bring books, and that is recommended. And I keep meaning to do that, but I always think if I have to walk there and bring a stack of books, and then what if they happen to be closed? They never have been, but what if they happen to be closed? And then I've carried it all the way over. So I haven't done it yet. But there's a little free library near me, so that's usually what I do. Anyway, but I have taken advantage and picked up some books, and I don't know if I've done a haul from any of those things, which is a shame. So, anyway, one of my more recent visits, I picked up this novel, and I thought, hey, I've heard of this, but I've never read it. And then one of the stars of the adaptation of this novel just died like last week, and which is kind of sad. So very also a couple weeks ago, booktuber and someone I also follow on Instagram showed this picture, I think in one of their stories, that they picked up this book as well, and I was like, wow, what are the odds, the same exact edition, I think. And then they put out a call, I think the other day, that does anyone want to read this with me or whatever, do a little group buddy read, whatever. And I was like, yeah, why not? Why not? This is a good idea. And maybe watch the adaptation, I'm not sure. Lately I've been reading books and not watching the adaptations anytime afterwards. I don't know, just haven't, but maybe I could change that. Been watching All Creatures Great and Small, but actually I'm falling behind in that as well. See what I mean? So anyway, so I decided to read this in February, and I think it's pretty fitting, and that is the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman by Ernest J. Gaines. This was, I think, written in the 70s as well. Let's see. 1971. So yeah, before my time. Before my time, but not that before my time, I must admit. It's about 50 years ago. So that really does make it a classic, doesn't it? So I'm going to call it a classic. Classic community, all that stuff. Hashtag goals. Oh, I hate that I'm still saying hashtag. I sound like, that person who's trying to be cool. Well, isn't that me anyway? I'm kind of like, I've never even had kids, but if I were, I'd be a dad. Which makes no sense because I like to tell dad jokes. Yeah, so this, just briefly, I'll read the little description written by Jeffrey Wolfe. It says, this is a novel in the guise of the tape-recorded recollections of a black woman who has lived 110 years. The actress who played, who was playing in this, died in her 90s, which was amazing, but 110 years, who has been both a slave and a witness to the black militancy of the 1960s. In this woman, Ernest Gaines has created a legendary figure, a woman equipped to stand beside William Faulkner's Dilsey in The Sound and the Fury. I've not read that. Miss Jane Pittman, like Dilsey, has endured, has seen almost everything, and foretold the rest. Gaines' novel brings to mind other great works, The Odyssey, for the way her heroine's travels manage to summarize the American history of her race, and Huckleberry Finn, for the clarity of her voice, for her rare capacity to sort through the mess of years and things to find the one true story in it all. Which is funny because both Huckleberry Finn and The Odyssey are books that I always think that I've read, and I don't think I have. So, future goals. More The Odyssey, because I don't know, Mark Twain doesn't do it for me. Changed my mind. He was really mean about Jane Austen, okay? Anyway, so yeah, that's the autobiography, the novel autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman. I think that sounds pretty good. Kind of historical fiction as well, right? And then last but not least, this is a group read. There is a kind of a book group that was put together by a few persons on BookTube. I hope to remember to put their names in the description box at some point. But it's called the Fierce Women book group or book club or something like that. And I decided to participate because it's about women in history who um, suffered from chronic illness of some kind, suffer from illness. And I think most of the people who founded this little group, who put it together, I should say, are or hosting it, I don't know, are, have some form of chronic illness. I don't think you need to have one in order to participate, but I do actually have something that is considered a chronic illness that is, I don't know about debilitating, but incredibly inconvenient sometimes. Affects a lot of choices in my life. So that works for me, I guess. I am actually currently reading a book about a woman, a recent book, very recent book about someone who suffers from a illness, IBD, which is kind of similar to what I deal with, and except I think even more serious. But and it's pretty good, but and relatable. So yeah, I'm on that mood right now, and this is probably going to be a different illness, but this is Mother of the Brontes, Sharon Wright, when Mariah met Patrick. I think I mentioned this also in January too, but I figured I wasn't going to start it until February, and I did start it a little bit at the end of January. But so this is the first book that the group is going to be reading, and hopefully it's a good one. And it is just what it says. It is the story of the mother of the famous authors, Charlotte, Emily, and Anne, and of course Bramwell and other people who didn't live very long, sadly. So yeah, Sharon Wright. She I think she grew up in like Yorkshire area, so probably heard some things about Brontes, but I don't think she really got into them until later, and then suddenly realized, wait a minute, it's like finding out, that the place that you grew up had some really, really famous person that came from there. Not semi well known, but like super, super people come there to look for where they grew up, that kind of thing. And yeah. So, but most people don't think about Mariah. I'm assuming it's pronounced Mariah because that's what they usually pronounce this spelling of the name in Jane Austen adaptations, and this is pretty much a contemporary of Jane Austen's. So yeah, there's plenty of biographies about the sisters, about Charlotte. I read one about Anne not too long ago, and of course the father, because Patrick, I think his name was, he actually accomplished quite a lot in his life, but not a lot about the mother, who didn't long survive her youngest daughter, so that's kind of sad. So she died young, and so we just don't know that much about her, but I know that she grew up in Cornwall, which is another place I love to read about. I was saying this to somebody that I haven't really read anything Poldark related. I did see a few episodes of Poldark recently, and I was not obsessed with it, but I mean, it was beautiful to watch. But it's about the same time period, actually. Although I have a feeling that once she'll be leaving Cornwall soon enough. But anyway, I think I've said enough about this. I think this is, very interesting subject. So that is what I have going on for February, the short month. So we'll see. I like to see by March what will I have read, etc. So let me know if you have any plans, or if you've read any of these books, if you plan to read any of these actual books during the month of February. And I guess that's all for today. If you like talking about these types of novels, biographies, history, whatever, if you have a Eleanor of Aquitaine obsession like I do somehow, please feel free to subscribe. So this is Catherine at Taking Tea with Catherine. Have a lovely tea and book-filled month.